In the palace, melodious music was playing, and a lively party was in full swing. Suddenly, all eyes turned to the entrance, where a noble lady appeared, her face exuding a coldness that kept anyone from getting close. The people in the ballroom began to whisper amongst themselves. Erin Lysus? What is that vicious lady doing at a party like this? I heard she tortures her maids so badly they have to flee in the middle of the night. Poor second prince, being forced to marry someone like her. That noble lady was none other than Erin. Amidst those whispers, as she lifted her skirt to walk through the crowd, her hand clenched into a fist. Erin Lysus was known to the public as a notorious villainess, the eldest daughter of a marquess's family, someone who indulged in luxury and cruelty. It all began many years ago, on a stormy night at the marquess's estate. The root of everything started to grow, but the truth was different. Light from the flashes of lightning outside flickered, illuminating the glass window. Erin looked terrified at that moment, her entire body trembling uncontrollably. In an instant, those tears vanished, and her face became cold and emotionless. Seeing this, Coralia smiled with satisfaction. Yes, at least now you have a usable face, you foolish, pathetic thing. Since childhood, no one knew this had been happening in secret, abuse by her stepmother. Am I really as foolish and pathetic as she says? When she got older, a white-haired boy named Calypso had pleaded with her. Lady Erin, you must tell the Marquise what the madam has done. Back then, she had avoided his gaze, avoiding the reality of her own abuse. The image of Sarah, despite being beaten, brutally, still trying to convince her to run away, was seared into her mind. My lady, please, run away right now. I couldn't protect anyone. She then remembered her fiancé, Ferdinand, who was always so gentle and kind to her. Back then, she had avoided his gaze, avoiding the reality of her own abuse. The image of Sarah, despite being beaten, me, right up to the very end. But even so, as her spirit shattered, the voice of her stepmother Coralia echoed in her ears. Have you eaten yet? I see you haven't touched your food, even though you must hate being forced to marry me. My fiancé was always good to you. The others who died are your fault too. They died because they were by your side. Erin found it incredibly hard to breathe, and a single tear. The second prince died because of you. The criticisms and blame swirled around her, because he was engaged to blame herself. So useless. Because of me, everyone. Suddenly her eyes flew wide open. A sword rolled down her face. Then, the tears began to stream endlessly, falling to the ground. She had pierced straight through her chest. Fresh blood spurted out as the swordsman ripped the blade out without hesitation. Erin's body collapsed forward, the attacker shrouded. Be joining you soon. And that is how I was killed. However, a new page was turned. In a modern world, completely different from the one before. Erin now had a new life, and she was currently working as a barista at a coffee shop. A customer standing at the counter said to her, "One iced Americano." She replied immediately, "Yes." Right after that, she turned and expertly prepared the drink. After finishing, Erin handed the coffee to the customer. Order 325, one iced Americano. Surprisingly, that wasn't the end of my life. I was reborn as a modern-day Korean, bringing with me. I had the memories of Erin Lysus and got a second life. But my second life wasn't much different from the first one. My parents saw me as a nuisance and pretty much ignored me, and I kept my distance from them too. And then that life led to a third life. After reincarnating again, I was born into a family of knights and lived as a genius swordswoman, and reached the rank of sword saint. I still don't know why. All I know is that no matter how I died, I was always reborn with all the memories of my past lives, but this time was different. Right now, a knight named Beckon is struggling to fight a horde of monsters. He gritted his teeth, thinking to himself, damn it, why did these monsters show up all of a sudden? From above, a monster appeared, diving straight for him. Beckon sensed the danger and immediately spun around. Damn it, I'm too late. He stared, stunned, as the monster was about to lunge at him, but it never happened. A sharp slash from a sword split the monster in two. That person was none other than Erin, standing on the monster's corpse as she forcefully pulled out her sword. Rickon, standing below, finally seemed to snap out of it, his expression still a bit dazed. Lady Erin? She glanced back at him coldly and said, there are still stragglers. Go help the other knights. He immediately complied. Yes, ma'am. Erin Lysus, the foolish girl who couldn't protect anyone, who was abused by her stepmother and murdered in her first life, has now returned with the memories of a sword saint. Her face remained as cold and distant as ever. I don't know why I became Erin Lysus again, but this time, when a monster suddenly lunged from behind her, she remained perfectly calm. Erin gripped her sword tightly, and in the blink of an eye, the monster was finished, collapsing to the ground. I won't live that life again. Athens Academy, the only academy in the empire, is attended not only by talented commoners and nobles, but also by royalty from other nations, and even the empire's own imperial family. A truly elite institution, and it was here, on a clear morning, that Erin gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear and gracefully stepped out of her carriage. Erin Lysus had arrived. She then stood for a moment, taking in the sight of the academy. Before her, she thought to herself, seeing it like this, I can finally feel that. I've really come back. A few days ago, I was sent back to the past. At first, I didn't realize I had become Erin Lysus. A familiar voice snapped her back to reality. Lady Erin, if you're scared, please hide behind me. I'll protect you. Seeing the maid she was closest to in her first life standing right in front of her, her mind was thrown into chaos. Sarah? Why is Sarah here? I know for a fact she's dead. Wait, She just called me Lady Erin. Then, based on my surroundings and past experiences with reincarnation, I realized that something strange had happened to me yet again. I had become the 20-year-old Erin Lysus. Back in the present, from a distance, I could hear the sound of whispers and gossip. Look, it's Erin Lysus. Her carriage is so extravagant, and look at that dress. It's like she's heading to a party. I heard she transferred to the night division just to chase after the second prince. I really don't want to be in the same class as her. Sarah looked at Erin with concern and asked, "My lady, are you really going to be all right?" People never liked me much to begin with, but the students at the academy back then despised me even more. The first reason. First, because I, who knew nothing about swordsmanship, transferred to the night division. The second reason was because I was engaged to the second prince of the Ferdinand Empire. It wasn't my choice, but everyone believed I forced the engagement. Everyone thought the worst of Erin, speculating and making up false stories. Rumor has it, she threatened to kill herself if they didn't let her get engaged to the second prince, and they even said she transferred to the night division just to be by his side. What did the other students do to deserve this? The biggest victim in all of this was Lady Aislee, whose lover was stolen by an unprecedented villainess. Back then, Erin could only endure it in silence. She disregarded the honor of a knight and broke up the two lovers to snatch the title of the second prince's fiancé. Of course they would hate me, but having returned, Erin was no longer the same as before. She calmly told Sarah, "Don't worry about me, you should go back to the Marquis's estate right away." But she still seemed worried about her. "Are you sure you'll be okay alone?" Erin gently took her hands and hummed in agreement. She smiled softly, a very warm smile. "I'm fine." With that, she lifted her skirt and slowly walked forward, and as she walked, she thought, "The rumors everyone believes about me were all made up by my stepmother, but I won't reveal this truth to anyone." The image of Sarah from a moment ago lingered in her mind. She then suddenly remembered the image of her from her past life, the one who met a tragic end trying to protect her. "My lady, you have to run now." The Erin of today was no longer weak, she was strong, as she strode down the path, constantly moving forward. "Because I already know what will happen if I speak up. That's why I have to do everything myself. This is the burden I must bear." A while later, Erin arrived at the academy's changing room. She had changed out of her long dress and into the uniform for the night division. Erin stood before the mirror, looking at her reflection for a long moment, carefully adjusting her academy uniform. It's been a while. As she was about to roll up her sleeves, she suddenly froze. Her arm was covered in a web of overlapping scars. Horrifying childhood memories flashed through her mind of when her wicked stepmother Coralia coldly punished her with a whip on that stormy night. Erin couldn't fight back. She had suffered immense physical and mental trauma. Recalling those events, Erin's gaze darkened. "My stepmother beat me right up until the moment I left for the academy." The dull aches all over my body were definitive proof that this was the work of Coralia, my stepmother. But why would she beat me so cruelly, especially when she intended to kill me all along? She still remembered the last words she heard before she died in her first. "The madam told me to tell you, don't worry, your family will be joining you soon." Erin took her jacket, carefully fastening each button on feuders. Her outer coat. Her last words bothered me, and for good reason. "My family, we have a long tradition of producing knights for the Empire. Although my father didn't become a sword master, he was still a high-ranking knight. My younger brother Karen is learning swordsmanship to carry on the family legacy. And yet, before I died, that family was pushed to the brink of ruin, all because of one person. I didn't understand it then, but now I think I do. There must have been someone backing her. But who? Did someone come to see me back then?" Suddenly, the door to the room was pushed open. Erin turned her head to look at the person who appeared in the doorway. I remember now, it was her younger brother, Karen. He looked like he was fuming, yelling at Erin. "Are you crazy? What are you thinking? You can barely even walk. You need a carriage to get around. So how? Can you possibly endure the training?" She looked at Karen without a word, walking straight past him to close the door. His temper hasn't changed a bit. We definitely argued about this back then too. Just as Erin finished closing the door, Karen came up and stood right behind her. His shadow fell over the door. "Are you really transferring to the night division? Everyone already hates you. So are you really transferring to the night division? Do you want to make your situation even worse?" Karen grabbed Erin's wrist, demanding, "Everyone already hates you, don't they? Do you really have to make things worse?" Karen was completely justified in his anger. Karen was also a student in the swordsmanship division, dreaming of becoming a knight, so he must have felt insulted by my past. That's why back then, Karen had coldly told Erin, "I'm truly ashamed of you." He must still be angry. Even now, did we have to end up like this again? In her mind, a childhood memory surfaced. Back then, Karen was still just a child, a smiling little boy who was very close to her. Big sis. She had opened her arms to hug him. We were so close when we were little. Back in the present, she spoke in a low voice. To her younger brother, "You used to follow me everywhere." Karen looked a bit stunned, then replied helplessly, "I don't know what you're thinking, but you'll never be able to see the second prince, no matter how hard you try." She was a little surprised, and asked, "The second prince?" He immediately replied, "That's right. The second prince is in the advanced class, and you're in the basic class. The classes never meet, do they? Everyone gathered today for the swordsmanship evaluation, but it's only for today, so just give up and go back to your old class." As soon as he finished speaking, Karen noticed Erin's palm was bleeding. Her bandage had turned a deep red. As if shocked, he immediately stepped back. Karen froze, staring at his sister's injury. He asked with a hint of worry, Why didn't you say you were hurt? Erin glanced at her wound, which had just reopened, without saying anything. She just quietly turned around and reached for the doorknob. Erin asked flatly, if you're done talking, can you leave now? Karen was stunned by her question. What? Erin pushed the door open and replied, I have class. Before walking away, leaving her younger brother standing stunned in the room. Athens Academy, Swordsmanship Division. People call this place the last bastion of the Empire. This is the place where knights are trained to protect the front lines from the ever-increasing number of monsters. Right now, Erin stood before the door to the practical training hall. The advanced class was even dispatched to subjugate monsters. She let out a breath, steadying herself. Ferdinand had received an imperial order and was away on a mission. When she opened the door and stepped inside, everyone in the room turned to look. All eyes were fixed on her. They started whispering to each other again. She really showed up. She's really something else. I wonder if she can even hold a sword with that arm. And he never came back. But then, a memory from her first life flashed through her mind again. It was the first time she and Ferdinand. Have you eaten yet? It seemed he hadn't touched his food. But now, Ferdinand was still so young. His handsome face exuded an air of nobility and coldness, and Erin couldn't take her eyes off him. An overwhelming emotion welled up inside her. He was alive. In a corner, a young man stood with his arms crossed, leaning against a pillar. His name was Derek Aderin. His lips moved. No matter how I think about it, Duke Lysus's request is just absurd. Duke Lysus, he was the head of the Lysus family, one of the 5 families that guard the front lines where monsters are sealed. Although he never became a swordmaster, his abilities from his long time guarding the front lines are still very commendable. However, he recently made a huge mistake. Not only did he use his reputation to get his daughter into the swordsmanship department, but he also pushed for an engagement with the second prince of the empire. Derek looked at Ferdinand, then pounded his chest, sighing to himself, how can the one engaged to that villainess be so calm? My God, how shameless. To get his daughter into the swordsmanship department, but he also pushed for an engagement with the second prince of the empire. Derek looked at Ferdinand, approached Ferdinand and said, Ferdinand, this is unbelievable. Didn't you hear? Approached Ferdinand and said, Ferdinand, this is unbelievable. Didn't you hear? From his long time guarding the front lines are still very commendable. However, he recently made a huge mistake. Not only did he use his reputation, them crying and begging, please save my daughter. Erin said she'd kill herself if she can't get engaged to Prince Ferdinand, Derek, and will continue to be. Her love for you? She just wants the title of fiancé as if he hadn't heard a thing. Seeing his reaction, Derek was furious. He said bluntly, Ferdinand, I don't want to see you die. No matter how outstanding you are, as long as the emperor still favors the first prince, the throne will probably never be yours. You need to build up even more power than you have now. What we need is a knight who can be our support right now. Although Karen's talent is excellent, Duke Asili is the empire's strongest swordmaster. So once again, Asili's daughter. Why are you so distracted while I'm talking? What are you even? Derek suddenly stopped, turning his head to follow Ferdinand's gaze. His face darkened, his eyes filled with malice. Just then, Ferdinand closed his book, placed it on the windowsill, and said to him, Derek, I don't believe in rumors. In his mind, a memory from a banquet surfaced. While talking with some nobles, he suddenly turned his head and saw Erin, standing there, lonely and quiet. Her face showed no emotion, but deep within those eyes, there was a certain charm that made him drawn in. That face matched the face of the Erin standing right in front of him now. Ferdinand slowly walked towards her. I only believe what I see with my own eyes. It's been a long time. This is the first time we've met since our engagement. My heart is fluttering again. Even after 3 lifetimes, he's still the one I can never forget. What should I say to him? Am I even allowed to talk to him? Coraline's voice echoed in Erin's mind. The second prince died because of you. He died because he was by your side. Her voice made all of her actions. Stop. Erin, she moved her lips, but in the end, she decided to walk away. Afterwards, at the Edward Arena, my heart is fluttering again. Even after 3 lifetimes, he's still the one I can never forget. What should I say to him? I am Edward Flawn, the instructor for the beginner swordsmanship class. As you all know, on the first day of the semester, we usually begin with a swordsmanship evaluation. This is the only opportunity for the beginner class to observe the swordsmanship of the advanced class, so please pay close attention. Now, after I've finished explaining the main guidelines, we will begin the evaluation immediately. Erin rubbed her eyes, looking troubled. The swordsmanship. I am Edward Flawn, the instructor for the beginner swordsmanship class. As you all know, evaluation. What was I like back then? I couldn't even lift the sword. Philip had burst out laughing. So heavy, I couldn't even lift. Swordsmanship at all costs. Since I was a child, I had always wanted to learn swordsmanship, but Coralia always caught her. Peeking again? I've told you before, girls don't learn things like swordsmanship. I was blocked at every turn, so when I was transferred to the swordsmanship department, I was overjoyed. But that joy didn't last long, because Erin knew he was staring at her. You think glaring like that is going to change anything, Philip? She remembered everything Philip had done, because this petty guy never stopped finding ways to make things difficult for her. He frowned in annoyance. Don't just call me by my name so casually, Erin Lysus. Regardless of the rules, I am royalty from the kingdom of Edwin, while you are a noble from the empire. Hearing this, Erin just thought, he must really hate it when I say his name. The first emperor of Lesia established a rule in the academy that, aside from royalty, a person's social status should not be considered important. In other words, royalty and commoners can converse freely without any issues. Philip glanced at her and growled, more importantly, do you want me to tell you what's going to happen to you from now on? Someone like you can never become a knight apprentice. Erin didn't let him finish listing off the humiliations. Even so, I'm not afraid, Philip. Philip's face twisted. What? What did you say? After finishing his explanation, he announced, all right, that's enough explaining. We will now begin the swordsmanship evaluation. Erin Lysus, step forward and demonstrate your sword forms. She showed no particular reaction. Yes, just stand there and decide for yourself if I'm really a knight or not. Erin chose a sword. She lifted it, her hands trembling. So heavy, just as expected with my current physical condition. Just lifting it makes me shake. He sat and watched, commenting, look at those trembling hands. Erin paid no mind to Philip's words. My hands are going to get blisters again, she thought, finally getting a firm grip on the sword. Everyone has mana in their core, and of course, I also have about as much mana as a normal person. The difference between a normal person and me is that I once lived as a swordmaster, so I know how to control mana. His eyes widened in shock. What is this? The trembling stopped? A long time ago, Father called me and Karen to tell us about the bloodline of the ducal house of Lysus, explaining that within our family, there is a legacy passed down through the generations. Every 2 or 3 generations, someone is born with the makings of a swordmaster. If Father couldn't become a swordmaster, then one of you two would possess that talent. Erin looked at her hand as it started to bleed. Again. Father never became a swordmaster, and Karen didn't become one either, so the one who inherited the gift must be me. At another training ground, a precise sword strike sent a training dummy flying to the ground. Karen wiped the sweat from his brow, thinking of her expression, well, if you're done talking, then get out, Karen. In that moment, he had blurted out in confusion. What? Erin pushed the door open and left, saying she still had class. He cursed under his breath. Damn it. Karen was incredibly annoyed. I was just worried about her and she just threw me out like that. Is she injured again? I heard that on her way. Here she ran into a monster. Did she get hurt then? The swordsmanship evaluation should be over by now. Suddenly, Karen overheard a conversation. Hey, have you heard about Erin Lysus? What is it? I heard from the advanced class that just finished their swordsmanship evaluation that, yeah, they said Erin Lysus. He grabbed the shoulder of the rambling white-haired guy, who jumped in surprise. Oh, Karen! Wanted to hear the rest of the story. Tell me what you were talking about. Congratulations to the new students, you all did very well in today's swordsmanship evaluation. Class is over for today, you're dismissed. Philip ran after Erin and called out loudly, Erin Lysus, I owe you a sincere apology. This made her genuinely surprised. She quickly said, please raise your head, what's the matter? People are staring. But he insisted, no, I'm not ashamed to bow my head to you. Your swordsmanship is more knightly than anyone else's. The one who didn't behave like a true knight was me. I allowed my petty prejudices to cloud my judgment, and I have finally realized just how meaningless those rumors really are. Please, accept my apology. I hope that from now on we can be on good terms with each other. I am a bit surprised, but I suppose it makes sense. Things are different now, and the way some of the other students look at me has also changed. This means that maybe, just maybe, Ferdino's fate will change too. Erin clenched her fist, then she shook Philip's hand. I accept your apology. I have somewhere to be, so if you'll excuse me. Erin walked over to Ferdino, calling softly, Sir Ferdino. He watched her approach. Erin stated firmly, I would like to have a private word with you. Could you spare? Give me a moment of your time? At the arena, she met with Ferdino. Thank you for making time for me, Sir Ferdino. The reason I wanted to meet you is because... Growl? The air became awkward. I can give you all the time you need, but you should probably go to the infirmary after we're done. Ferdino took out a small handkerchief and temporarily wrapped the wound on Erin's hand. His gesture gave her a lot to think about. Ferdino is kind to everyone, fair to all, and possesses a gentle and compassionate nature. Maybe that's why he's being so kind to me, even though I'm sure he's still upset about being forced into this engagement. Erin quickly got back to the point. Sir Ferdino, you've received an order from the Emperor for a monster subjugation, haven't you? Ferdino looked surprised. How do you know that? Did you hear it from Karen? She lowered her head and said softly, I also know that my name is on the list for the subjugation team. The reason I called you here today is to ask that you don't do anything special for my sake. His eyes widened as he looked at Erin. Meanwhile, in Ferdino's office, Derek casually asked, everyone has received the list, correct? The list for the monster subjugation team. As you all know, the monster subjugation activity is one of the Academy's annual events. The list is typically composed of the top 5 students from each class in the swordsmanship department and the magic department. The team will be formed alongside experienced, high-ranking knights. For this monster subjugation's practical combat, you've been chosen along with Ferdino and me, Eamon Hito of the advanced swordsmanship class, and Lilia of the advanced magic class. Amon said casually, anyway, why are you talking as if you're the captain instead of Ferdino? So is this insubordination? He rushed to explain. It's not like that. What insubordination? I'm just making a preliminary announcement until Ferdino gets here. He taunted again. Anyway, your dedication to your master is quite impressive, Derek. Seething with anger, he replied, I prefer to call it loyalty. Karen, who had been quiet the whole time, was lost in thought. It's unbelievable what that white-haired person told Karen earlier. I didn't hear every detail myself, but Erin Lysus. Not only that, they said she perfectly executed the Lysus family's swordsmanship. He bit his lip in disbelief. Impossible. She's never formally learned swordsmanship, so how could she have mastered our family's style? I used to catch her secretly watching me practice and mimicking my moves in secret, but she quit that a long time ago. Is that so? Eamon, who was focused on reading the list, suddenly spoke up. There's a surprising name on this list. Erin Lysus. Karen was stunned, and Eamon quietly remarked, "The Marquis will surely be pleased, siblings participating in such a prestigious monster subjugation together. But your attitude suggests the opposite. My sister participating is ridiculous. She only just transferred to the swordsmanship department, and these kinds of subjugations are only for the top-scoring students." He turned to ask him, "You were in class today. What did you think of Erin Lysus?" Derek didn't answer, saying he should go see for himself. Anyway, I never thought I would ever say this, but her swordsmanship was genuinely perfect. Karen clenched his fists. No matter how skilled she is, I absolutely will not take my sister on a monster subjugation. The other guy was confused, thinking, what's with him? They're that close. Now? They were never like this before. Suddenly, Lilia burst out laughing, cackling loudly. Such a touching sibling bond. I had a brother like that once, too, but now I'll never see him again. And it's because of you! Lilia glared at Karen. It's because of your sister, Karen. He looked displeased. That's enough, Lilia! That rumor. She cut Karen off. A rumor? Are you saying the story about your sister killing my brother is just a rumor? If it's really just a rumor, then why does everyone believe it's the truth? Eamon's expression was unreadable, while Derek intentionally avoided eye contact. Karen fell silent again. Lilia lightly shoved his shoulder. I don't care if you go on the monster hunt or not, but if she's there, don't expect to get any cooperation from me. I'll have to use a great deal of mental energy just to make sure my magic doesn't accidentally hit her. Karen angrily clenched his hand, but then he noticed someone arriving. As Ferdinand opened the door, he heard Derek's voice. Ferdinand, you're here earlier than I thought. He took off his jacket and tossed it to him, and Ferdinand calmly sat down. Derek went to hang up the jacket, thinking Erin Lysus must have already caused some trouble. Unable to hide his curiosity, he asked, what did Erin Lysus say? Hearing that, he recalled what had happened earlier. Erin had said, Sir Ferdinand, you received the monster subjugation order from the Emperor, so I will be going on the monster hunt. Regardless, no, I want to go, so there's no need for you to mention the order. The reason I summoned you today was to ask you not to do anything on my behalf. Recalling it now just gave Ferdinand a headache. It looks like Erin will be joining this monster hunt after all, and everyone here seems surprised. Meanwhile, in Erin's bedroom, she sat on her bed. I didn't do much, but I'm exhausted. Erin looked. From the wound on my hand in my past life to this one, I'm definitely going to join the monster hunt, because it's the Emperor's royal decree. In my past life, the Emperor said, didn't the Lysus family do everything they could to transfer their daughter to the swordsmanship department? She must be skilled enough. Ferdinand wanted to object. But your majesty. In my past life, Ferdinand objected to the Emperor, but he simply said, are you defying my order? Of mine. His objection was dismissed, and in the end the monster hunting party, including me, set off. And there, Karen lost an arm, and Ferdinand lost his former lover, Princess Cecilie, because he chose to save me instead of Princess Cecilie. Because of that, Ferdinand had to endure the wrath of Duke Cecilie, and his position truly began to waver. Of course, in this life, things will never happen that way. The monster hunt will depart in 1 month. As she touched her wound, she thought, oh no, it hurts again. A determined Erin told herself. Until then, I need to increase my stamina and my monocore as much as possible. Suddenly, Karen stormed into the room, startling Erin. Karen, he frowned, wanting to question her, but his gaze landed on something else. He saw that her hand was bleeding again, making him even more annoyed. He thought he would just point at Erin and say, why is your hand so much worse than before? You're about to go on a monster hunt. Are you insane? And why did you use the family's sword technique during the swordsmanship evaluation? But in reality, Karen couldn't bring himself to say it. That's what I wanted to say, but he took a deep breath. Caroline, he said, his voice softening. I heard you're joining the monster hunt. Don't you know what that means? It means you could die. She brushed past him, replying nonchalantly, I know. But it's the Emperor's royal decree, not something Lord Ferdinand can stop. I'm going. Karen was baffled. How can you be so calm? Don't you understand what a monster hunt entails, or do you just not have any sense of reality? Lilia wants to avenge her brother. On top of that, you'll be with people who don't think highly of you, and you still say you're going? Erin showed no reaction, then she said firmly, yeah, he didn't know what else to do. The two of them fell silent. 1 month later, it was the day the monster hunting party departed. Lilia's brother, Caliph. Caliph had once been introduced to Erin, my former aide, your new aide from today onwards. But not long after, he passed away, and upon seeing her brother's cold body, Lilia was filled with rage and poured all her energy into practicing magic. She felt someone behind her. Lilia had been watching. Erin with hostile eyes, seeking revenge for her brother. The sun began to set behind the mountains, signaling the end of the day. But the party was still on the move, continuing their journey. No matter how she thought about it, this group was just too strange. Up ahead, Karen turned to look at Erin and asked, we've been riding for a long time. Aren't you tired? Wait, since when did you know how to ride a horse? Just seeing those two acting friendly was strange enough. Meanwhile, he was still questioning her. What else have you been doing behind my back? I also couldn't ignore Lilia's silence because I knew exactly what that smile of hers meant. Right now, Derek, His face darkened as he thought, I had a feeling something would happen right before we left, but luckily, Lilia backed down at the last minute. And on top of that, Lady Asili came along too. He sighed in frustration, mulling over how this all started. It's like a long-running drama. Then, Derek couldn't help but laugh self-deprecatingly. This monster subjugation quest isn't going to be easy, in more ways than one. Ferdinand agreed with him. I'm worried about that too. Derek suddenly felt curious. Ferdinand, when this mission is over, you really need to seriously reconsider your engagement. We who are loyal to you. After you graduate from the academy and we officially become your knights, the Crown Prince will build his own faction to oppose you. The prince has His Majesty the Emperor backing him, so you're at a disadvantage from the start, and if you keep Erin Lysus by your side, you'll be forced to spend all your time preventing internal division instead of fighting. He fell silent after listening to Derek's lecture. A moment later, Ferdinand curiously asked Derek, have you ever actually seen Lady Erin cause trouble? He exclaimed in confusion. What? Well, of course. You mean that lady? The villainess from the Marquis Lysus's family. I even feel sorry for the Marquis. All the prestige he's built is being ruined by one daughter. At least he has other children. As he said this, Derek let out a sad sigh, then he lowered his head and said, no, I've never seen it myself. Just then, someone from the front shouted, there's a clearing ahead, we'll set up camp here for the night. Hearing that, Derek and Ferdinand looked ahead. The sunset was incredibly beautiful. Everyone dismounted at once to prepare camp for the night. His gaze drifted to the distance. Derek, if her so-called past turns out to be a lie, who will take responsibility for that? After hearing Ferdinand's question, he immediately retorted, that's too extreme. Besides, don't say those things in front of Lilia. That evening, as she was tearing food with her hands, she then put the small pieces into the pot. Karen stared blankly at Erin's actions. You're cooking? A person who's only ever learned a lady's etiquette? Just then, she handed him a bowl of this food. Karen immediately took it and stammered. Oh, thanks. The moment he tasted the food in the bowl, he couldn't help but exclaim, and it's delicious. Sister, I really don't understand you anymore. The you from my childhood. You were like a flower, and no one hates flowers. I never thought a day would come when I would hate you, until a few years later, before we started to drift apart. Karen remembered a time in the past when he had questioned Erin. Sister, are you going to see our new stepmother? Are you already close with her? Please spend some time with me too. At that time, she had coldly slapped his hand away. Erin just left, saying, sorry, I'm a little late. Bewildered, Karen said. I understand. Then she hurried away, calling out, I have to go. He let out a startled gasp as he watched her. After that, I tried to approach you many times, but the distance between us never shortened. Karen could only call out to Erin in vain. Sister. A sense of being wronged overwhelmed his mind, leaving him to just lie under the covers, sobbing. Seeing this, Coralia asked with concern, Karen, why are you crying, my child? Karen turned and explained, Stepmother, she has. She's changed so much, I don't know why. Why did you suddenly change so much? Even the maids have started gossiping about you. She hugged him to console him, saying, it seems Erin has had a change of heart. Maybe you should just keep your distance for a while, until Erin returns to her old self. Don't worry, I'll take good care of Erin in the meantime. Reassured by Coralia, Karen looked up in a daze, finally lowering his head and replying, yes. Back in the present, as Karen and Erin sat next to each other at dinner, he suddenly grew curious. How's life in the swordsmanship department? She answered while eating, it's fine. Karen continued to ask, is it hard studying there? Erin replied concisely, not really. Hearing that, he quietly remarked, I see. After that, Karen fell silent, not knowing what else to say, which made her unable to hold back a laugh. He immediately turned and asked, what is it? Why are you suddenly laughing? Erin smiled and replied, it's nothing. I was just thinking it's been a long time since we've eaten together like this, and it also feels a little strange hearing you call me sis. Karen was suddenly stunned as he recalled her beautiful appearance from the past, and he turned away in annoyance. It's not a big deal, I'm just calling you what you are, sis. Just then, someone walked towards them, a voice ringing out and catching their attention. Looks like you can still stomach your food, huh? Laughing so carefree like this in front of the person who tried to kill Lilia, are you really that naive? Or do you just not care? Karen immediately stepped in front of Eamon, warning him, don't cause trouble, Sir Amon. They say you shouldn't even bother a dog while it's eating. So are you worse than a dog, Sir Amon? He threw away the apple in his hand and said coldly, that's enough, Karen. Even from you. Just then, Ferdinand appeared to stop Amon. He looked at him coldly and said, stop it, Amon. Amon glanced at Ferdinand in confusion. Ferdinand, you're not taking that woman's side now, are you? At that moment, Erin glanced around, thinking, this isn't good at all, everyone is looking this way. If Sir Ferdinand is seen publicly defending me. At the same time, Derek was alarmed by the current situation. What's going on? Her being aware of what could happen will put me in an awkward position. So, Erin walked over and took his hand. I heard Sir Amon is a genius swordsman. Could it be that's just a baseless rumor? It seems you're only good for that sharp tongue of yours. Provoked, his eyes widened as he snapped, are you asking to die? If you wish, I can kill you right now. Just then, a carriage appeared, its door slowly opening. It's not allowed. Dueling is forbidden. The person who appeared to break it up was Princess Asili. While she was still trying to understand what was happening, Amon exclaimed in surprise, Lady Erin. She mechanically looked towards her, a person beloved by all, often ill due to her immense holy power, but one who has never missed a monster subjugation despite her condition, Sir Ferdinand's former lover, the saintess of the Lesia Empire, Lady Asili. At that moment, she stared blankly as Princess Asili approached. Derek, standing to the side, asked with concern, "Lady Han, why are you out in this cold weather?" She explained her reason. "I came out because it seemed a bit noisy." "Hello, Lady Erin. We've passed each other a few times, but this is the first time we've truly met, isn't it?" Erin gave a slight nod in greeting. "It's a pleasure to meet you, my lady." As she finished speaking, she thought to herself, "The princess didn't attend the engagement ceremony in my past life, so I never formally greeted Lady Asili. Like this, before the monsters appeared, she never left her carriage and died early." Erin panicked a little when she was stared at by Princess Asili for so long. "She's staring way too intensely. She must be upset with me for getting engaged." To her ex-lover, she suddenly leaned in close, startling Erin, who then saw Princess Asili smile and say, "Lady Erin, you're quite an interesting person, aren't you?" Erin quickly realized something was off. Her eyes seemed to flash. Then she turned her head to call for Sir Aemon. On second thought, "I suppose a duel would be fine, but I will be the only one to observe." Everyone was completely stunned by this proposal from Princess Asili, who glanced at her and asked, "Is that all right with you?" Derek trembled upon hearing this, while Erin silently thought, "Does she want to get revenge?" through Sir Aemon? Then her answer left Karen and Ferdinand completely astonished. "If that is what the lady wishes, I have no objections." Princess Asili was extremely pleased to hear that and dragged Erin and Aemon away. "Wonderful, then let's go." Meanwhile, the other three were left dumbfounded, watching the scene unfold, as a scream echoed through the night sky. What the heck? Arriving at a suitable location for the duel, she explained the rules. "We will keep this match moderate. The rules are to fight fair and limit injuries. After all, we came here to slay monsters, not people. Begin." Both he and she held their swords, ready to fight. Erin gazed forward and thought, "Amanhito is truly a genius swordsman. His stance is clean without any wasted movement. Today I'm dueling with him, but in my past life, Aemon was a knight ordered by Ferdinand to protect me." She still remembered that time clearly. Amon had shouted decisively, "What are you all doing? Don't just stand there, run!" Because of his foul mouth and lazy nature, he never ended up becoming a master swordsman. But he was someone who understood the code of chivalry. After Sir Ferdinand passed away, and he no longer had to protect me, he still upheld that order, until the very moment he died. In the present, Erin thought seriously, no matter how much he owes me. Princess Asili, on the side, was waiting expectantly for her and Aemon to fight, when she saw Erin decisively charge forward to attack. A debt is a debt, but this is now. She keenly observed his movements. When Aemon raised his sword to counter, Erin couldn't help but note, "So fast!" Meanwhile, he was trembling as he blocked her attack. Am I being overwhelmed, or what? Then Amon suddenly cried out in shock, because he had just been hit in the waist, attacked so unexpectedly, that Amon couldn't defend in time, and fell backward. Witnessing this, she let out a small smile. He coughed up blood and couldn't help but mutter, "This is insane! What the hell is this?" Amon couldn't believe it. "I was just hit by Erin Lysus, by that greenhorn rookie." Erin calmly met his gaze. Then she raised her sword once more. "Are you still not sober yet?" "Well, that's fine. Getting hit some more should wake you right up." Amon gasped in shock when he heard Erin say that. A terrified scream echoed through the night. At that moment, Erin decisively swung her sword again, then sheathed it. Now, Amon was lying motionless, in front of Erin. He was still stunned after receiving her attack. "I lose. So I've lost to Erin Lysus." Amon stared at Erin and called out, "Lady Lysus, the match is over, isn't it?" she asked, her eyes fixed on her. She confirmed, "Yes." As she finished, Erin suddenly felt confused. Wasn't she planning to get revenge through Sir Amon? Her attitude was as if she had already predicted this outcome. Meanwhile, Amon stood up and whispered hoarsely, "How did you do that? You only recently started wielding a sword. I remember it clearly. At that party, your hands looked as if they'd never, ever held a sword before, not even a sewing needle. They were perfectly flawless. You know nothing about swordsmanship, and you don't understand a knight's honor, so how can you possess skills like that?" Just then, the look in Erin's eyes changed as she sensed something was wrong, and she moved in a flash, dashing forward to kill the monster behind him. Amon, who was still on the ground, didn't understand what was happening. "What are you doing?" He then saw Erin swing her sword to kill more monsters in the distance, where many beasts were lurking, and they stared at them with ravenous eyes, and just like that, the horde of monsters charged aggressively forward. Seeing them suddenly appear, he gritted his teeth. Damn it. Since when? Then Amon quickly pulled Princess Asili to flee from the monsters, but at that moment she collapsed, making him extremely worried. "My lady!" Princess Asili was painfully clutching her chest, and at the same time, a giant monster appeared behind her. Erin immediately lunged forward, swinging her sword to kill it. Meanwhile, he realized her condition. She was having a seizure. She glanced around, thinking, "There are too many monsters. I can't move fast," while carrying her. Amon suddenly shouted to get Erin's attention. "This way! There's a hiding spot here!" The bright moon stood out against the night sky. The roaring monsters looked terrifying as they moved in a pack searching for humans. The horde of monsters continued forward without noticing the large bush to the side, from which came not a single sound. After the monsters had passed, Amon finally spoke. "I can't say it's completely safe, but at least we can rest for a moment." The two of them slumped to the ground, leaning their backs against the cliff behind them. Erin thought to herself, "The demonic beasts appeared sooner than I expected. Most of them are mid-level or higher. I wonder if this has anything to do with me returning to the past." Suddenly, Amon called out, "Hey Erin, let me see your back for a second." Erin looked at him warily. "Pervert?" Seeing her reaction, he quickly clarified, "Your wound. I'm going to apply medicine to it." You were injured while saving me, and it's a hard spot to reach on your own, so I just intended to help you out. What kind of person do you think I am? Aman opened the medicine container and applied it for her. Once the danger had passed, she asked curiously, Princess Asili, why did she suddenly get sick? He then explained thoroughly, her body contains an immense amount of divine power, so this happens often. This time, I think it was the energy, the dark energy of the monsters that stimulated it. Upon learning this, Erin quietly murmured, I see, then she thought grimly, this is a difficult situation. Aman, from behind her, suddenly spoke up, when I was a child. Erin heard him and turned her head in confusion. How strange, for him to suddenly start telling his story. He continued on and on, I once followed my father into a dungeon. Maybe he wanted to instill discipline in his lazy son, or perhaps he wanted to impart a more profound lesson. To show me the gravity of sin, I'm not sure, but I remember it vividly. The criminal I saw that day was hung dangling on the wall like a sack of grain, and was tortured, his whole body covered in old scars. Then Eamon took his hand off the wound on her back. He couldn't help but remark that it was just like her back. Erin flinched when she heard Eamon say that, and he suddenly became curious. Who could have done this? What kind of fool would dare to lay a hand on someone from the house of the Marquis? How outrageous. Just then she stood up and said, Sir Aman, please take Lady Asili and go back right now. Aman exclaimed in disbelief. What? Erin explained as she put on her coat. Lady Asili's breathing is becoming labored. I think her condition is getting worse. He furiously rushed over to confront her. What do you take me for? If anyone should run, it's you. You should be the one escaping with the young lady. Not wanting to hear Eamon ramble on, she shouted, I'm begging you, please just go. I can't run as fast as you, Aman, so you have to go ahead and call for help. He was momentarily stunned by Erin's request. A moment later, the horrifying roars of monsters echoed through the forest. Ferdinand and the others. They were looking around cautiously. He quickly sensed something was off. Something's not right. I can still hear the roars of the monsters, but they aren't coming past a certain point. Are they really monsters? Just then, Ferdinand saw Aman, returning with Princess Asili on his back. Aman, what's wrong? Did you encounter them? The ground suddenly shook. And, wait, why are there only two of you? Where is Lady Erin? He sat down on the ground and replied, we got separated on the way. She said she would act as a decoy. A slash of the sword, a spray of blood, killing. That was the one thing I did over and over again until I collapsed in my third life. In a world where monsters ran rampant, law and order had long since disappeared. Killing was not a choice, but a necessity to survive. In that life, I briefly reached the pinnacle of swordsmanship, earning the title they called the Sword Saint. If I had realized my own talent back in my first life, could I have prevented their deaths? She slightly furrowed her brow, a deep sadness showing. Suddenly, Erin's eyes widened with determination. That day, I couldn't protect anyone, but this time, a horde of grotesque monsters was waiting in front of her. Without hesitating, she leaped up and yelled, Die! Erin told herself, this time, I will absolutely protect them. She resolutely swung her sword and charged toward the massive monster. Meanwhile, back with Ferdinand's group, Karen shouted, What do you mean? My sister became a decoy? Don't tell me you left her behind to save your own skin. Did you? And you have the nerve to call yourself a knight? I have to go save her. Lilia also couldn't help but wonder, Erin Lysus, by herself, as bait for an entire horde of monsters. Isn't that tantamount to a death sentence? Princess Asili grimaced, slightly. That woman won't die that easily. His face was twisting in anger. A hand reached out to stop Karen, who was becoming increasingly agitated. Lilia chose her words carefully. Ferdinand shot a warning glare at her. Lilia knew her place and immediately fell silent. Sir Karen, please calm down. We must save Lady Erin first. I will go and call for reinforcements. Karen couldn't hold back his anger and gritted his teeth, staring directly into Eamon's eyes. Let me warn you, if anything happens to my sister, I will never forgive you, you coward. You're not worthy! Ammon shouted indignantly. A man who knows nothing of the sword nor the spirit of chivalry, how could he possess a skill like that? He was stunned into a daze for a moment. Meanwhile, on another path in the forest, Erin was dragging her aching body forward, thinking to herself, I've covered my tracks. Those monsters were cut down by a sword aura that only a swordmaster could control, so no one would doubt that I am dead. If I circle back this way towards the knight's barracks, can I really go back? She unconsciously looked up at the sky and called out a familiar name, Caliph, Lilia's older brother. A perfectly polite voice spoke up. It is an honor to meet you, Lady Erin. I am Caliph, and starting today, I have been assigned as your personal attendant. He was one of the few people I could never forget, no matter how many lives I lived through, and also the first person to realize the wicked nature of my stepmother. Caliph sincerely advised her to tell the Marquis the truth about what the madam had done. If you find it difficult, I will be there with you. So when the Marquis returns from the front lines this time, please tell him. Lady Erin hesitated evasively. But what if my stepmother is right, and father also thinks I'm useless? What if nothing changes? He immediately denied it. No, that's not true. The Marquis loves you, my lady. He was the one who planted a seed of courage in my heart and was the only friend I had. Coralia suddenly approached and whispered in her ear, Look here, Erin. Mother just caught a little rat. You fool. Daring to warn me about something that never happened because someone made up. Lies. One of my attendants had to die instead. Erin collapsed to the ground, whimpering. I should have said that mother never hit me, but I couldn't bear it anymore, so I confided in him, a tear streamed down her face uncontrollably, and she screamed in regret before Caliph's remains. His cold body was brought back, and following my stepmother's lies, a rumor spread that I was the one who killed him. My reputation was ruined from then on, and no one wanted to know the truth. The night sky began to drizzle with small raindrops. Erin lifelessly looked up at the sky. Why did I have to return at this exact moment? If only I could have gone back further, I would never have told Caliph. Anyway, unlike before, this time Lady Asili survived. So maybe the future will change too. Perhaps if I don't go back and am presumed dead in that village, a better future will unfold. If I die, maybe everyone else can finally be happy. Erin suddenly snapped out of her thoughts in her head as she sensed someone approaching. What? Ferdinand ran frantically. Through the rain, Lady Erin. Erin's face showed clear surprise, and her body began to lose balance and sway. Of all people, why? Is it you? He rushed forward to support Lady Erin. Meanwhile, at the Marquis's estate, Coralia was leisurely enjoying the glass of wine in her hand. She calmly swirled the glass while sipping. A few days later, at the estate of Marquis Lysus, as if to completely block any intruders from the enemy side, knights were stationed densely around the entire mansion, a massive show of force worthy of the stature of a powerful Marquis family that he built on the front lines, a testament to his illustrious position in the empire. However, the one who benefited most from the power, wealth, honor, and even the lavish lifestyle of the Marquisate was Marchioness Coralia Lysus. With roses neatly arranged in a porcelain vase, Coralia spoke as she trimmed each flower. It's been over a decade since I entered my second marriage with Marquis Lysus. Extravagant dresses, servants who appear at the ring of a bell. I suppose I've grown so attached to the role of a Marchioness that if I were to return to my old self, I would feel a little regret, Raymond asked doubtfully. Do you wish to return to where you began? She answered slowly. I had to hide all traces of my swordsmanship with dark magic because it wasn't suitable for the role of a noble lady. Decades ago, the Emperor declared, I have long heard of your talents. A swordswoman even stronger than Marquis Lysus, correct? Coralia bowed humbly and replied, You give me too much credit, your majesty. He stated bluntly, I have summoned you because I need your strength. There are not many sword saints. In this empire, only 3. Across the entire continent, there are no more than 10. Yes, only 3. Even when I stand at the pinnacle of power, I can't do much with just those 3, and I cannot act as I please. I can't just sit idly by. Help me keep them in check, Lady Coralia. She raised her head and replied, I will obey your command, your majesty. That was a long time ago. His majesty had long coveted the Lysus Marquisate, the family that produces sword saints. So, I hid my identity and concealed myself here. The most glorious legacy of House Lysus, I shattered with my own hands. Everything was going so smoothly, especially since the Marquis was stuck on the front lines, unable to return. But the monster subjugation team from Athens Academy completed their mission, thanks to the help of a passing sword saint. All the members returned safely. Are you telling me my plan was ruined just because of some passing sword saint? She suddenly reached out and snatched the porcelain vase in front of her. Without a moment's hesitation, she smashed it to pieces. Immediately, a maid quickly opened the door to check. Forgive me, my lady. I heard a loud noise and took the liberty of entering. Coralia explained with a gentle smile. My hand slipped. Could you please clean it up? The maid approached worriedly. I'll clean it right away. Are you hurt, my lady? She answered curtly. No, I'm fine. The maid also felt relieved and left. Then I shall take my leave. Coralia's expression changed in an instant. Does this make any sense to you, Raymond? He had to nod in agreement. Yes. The message we received yesterday was indeed suspicious. A sword saint is so rare. How could one just happen to be passing through that forest? Coralia increasingly couldn't hide her anger. Princess Asili was supposed to die this time. That way, Duke Asili would have finally abandoned Ferdinand Lesia. According to the plan, I went through all the trouble of forcing Erin to marry the second prince and enter the swordsmanship department. And yet, just because of some passing swordsman, all my schemes have gone to waste. Raymond took her hand to calm her. You'll be in trouble if you lose your composure. Coralia's furious eyes met his steady gaze. She clenched her fist, trying to calm down. At Athens Academy, a rumor had begun to spread that Erin held a sword. I need to be sure that what Sir Reckon said is true. I still remember the first time I met her. Erin smiled innocently and greeted Coralia. Hello, madam. From now on, can I call you mother? She answered her with a cold, sharp gaze. While secretly despising her, I am not your mother, you foolish brat. Her innocent eyes blinked, looking like a delicate flower, a child born into a noble family. Erin, wondering aloud, caught Coralia's attention. How did Karen swing his sword? I remember it was like this. She immediately replicated the exact move just from memory, didn't she? Let me try to recall. It's just like how I really wanted to take her with me. That child has the talent of a sword saint. Erin, with tears streaming down her face, knelt at her feet begging, I was wrong, so wrong, please stop. Coralia just glared at her coldly. It will destroy the child. This child's muscles are what's worthy of a sword saint, the legacy of House Lysus. She has surpassed even the Marquis, that child, her people. Quickly restrained a struggling Calyps, he desperately protested, Please, madam, don't do this. To Lady Erin, do you not fear God? You will not be forgiven. Those words wounded Coralia's pride. A lowly servant dares to lecture me? Just a lowly servant and nothing more. And yet, that day Erin completely broke down. In the end, that outcome wasn't so bad. She reminded him, there isn't much time left. Now that His Majesty has begun to act, This plan absolutely cannot have any mistakes. Raymond, go to Athens Academy and verify whether Erin truly knows how to use a sword or not. Even if she trains with a body covered in injuries, at most she will only reach the level of a high-ranking knight. But if she's truly a sword saint, then what do you think? What if a coincidental accident were to break her arm? Raymond. At that same moment in the room of Erin, Karen was sitting beside the bed, worried about Erin's motionless body, when her finger suddenly twitched. Erin slowly opened her tired eyes. She had finally woken up after a long time. The chair scraped as Karen jumped up and asked, "Sis, are you awake?" Erin's whole body ached as she sat up. "Where am I?" He worriedly told her. "Don't sit up so fast. This is the academy. It's your room." She was a bit surprised, then began to assess the situation. "My room? I must have been unconscious for a very long time. My clothes have been changed too. Who did this? They must have seen all of my scars." Karen's voice trembled as he spoke. "Sis, are you for real? Have you lost your mind? You almost died. What in the world were you thinking? What made you think you were strong enough to act as bait for those monsters?" He quickly stopped after seeing she was dizzy. "I'm not mad, it's just..." Erin observed his reaction and came to a conclusion. Based on this reaction, I don't think Karen was the one who changed my clothes. If it was him, he definitely would have asked about the scars first. Come to think of it, Karen's hand. I'm glad he didn't really catch up to me. Her hand gently patted him, causing him to look back bewildered. I feel more relieved now. Karen couldn't hold it in and his eyes immediately welled up with tears. He unhappily slapped her hand away. "Then why would you do something that could get you killed? From now on, don't you ever do that again. If you think you're about to die, then just run and save yourself, got it?" Erin was stunned with doubt. I think I saw a tear glistening in the kid's eye. Karen turned his face away, avoiding her gaze. "I must have been imagining things," he said worriedly. "You should lie down and rest for a while longer," she explained. "I'm thirsty." He immediately asked me to wait here, telling me you're going to get me water? But it's a good thing that Ferdinando Lesia guy wasn't here when I woke up. That guy is so noisy, he just kept rambling on and on while I was asleep. Erin slowly took the cup of water from him. "Stop joking," Karen said firmly. "I'm not joking." She couldn't help but doubt it. Lord Ferdinando came to visit me. Unbelievable. And there was a reason. Ferdinando had frantically held her and called out, "Miss Erin, please wake up." She managed to say, "Lord Ferdinando." He replied, "Yes, please speak." Erin begged, "Don't be like this with me. Don't be too kind." She remembered that was what she had said to him. There's no way he would come to my room after hearing that. Karen reached out for the cup. "Give it here. Anyway, I'm glad you're okay. I'm happy the academy allows visitors." Erin couldn't help but wonder, allows who to visit? He continued to answer, "Lord German." He calmly recounted everything. "Mother must be very worried about you. Mother requested the academy to allow Lord Jaymond to escort you. Isn't that great? Haven't you always admired Lord Jaymond?" She hesitated slightly and said, "So Lord Jaymond is coming here?" Meanwhile, in the central hall, lately it's just been one strange thing after another. During the monster subjugation, we thought it was just a swarm of low-level monsters. Turns out they were all mid-level monsters. Then a sword saint appeared out of nowhere and took care of all of them. And what happened to Erin Lysus that day also made Karen act strangely. He could actually make such a serious face. But the strangest of all is Lord Ferdinando. Ferdinando stood at the door and asked, "How is Miss Erin?" Karen easy replied, "She hasn't woken up yet. But Lord Ferdinando, aren't you busy?" He answered without hesitation, "I'm not busy." Derek, hiding behind the wall, silently judged, "Not busy my ass. He visits Erin Lysus's bedside every day." And Ferdinando, who always maintains a perfect image, has been seen lately just staring blankly out the window, and even showing up with dark circles under his eyes like today. The monster subjugation report for His Majesty the Emperor can't be delayed any longer. He's the one who knows best that he'll suffer for it. "What the hell are you thinking, Ferdinando?" Ferdinando closed his eyes, letting himself sink into his thoughts. A panicked voice of his from that time echoed, "Miss Erin, please wake up." She struggled to reply, saying, "Lord Ferdinando." He quickly answered, "Yes, please speak." She had tried to ask, "Don't be like this with me anymore. Don't be so kind. Just hate me, like everyone else does. Just do it." Ferdinando wondered, why? Did she suddenly say that? Don't be kind? Should I hate her like others do? Does Miss Erin hate me? Is that why she doesn't want me near? Did she intentionally say those things to push me away? Lilia spoke up impatiently, snapping Ferdinando out of his thoughts. "Shouldn't we be starting the meeting right now, Lord Ferdinando? How long do you plan to make us sit here and wait in silence?" Derek, annoyed by her attitude, said, "Hey, why would you say that?" He raised a hand to stop him. "Lilia is right, Derek. I'm the one who called everyone for this meeting, but I've been too thoughtless. However, I don't see Mrs. Seeley anywhere. Does anyone know where she is?" Amon calmly replied, "She went to visit Miss Erin." Both Derek and Lilia exclaimed in surprise. "Huh? You just called her Miss Erin, and even used a formal title?" He slowly recounted, "I met her on my way here. She said she had just heard the news about Miss Erin. She's awake. Lady Asili told me to pass on the message that we should start the meeting without her." Derek commented, "She's looking down on us, isn't she?" Ferdinando then spoke up, "So, Lady Erin is awake?" "Thank God." Lilia's voice dripped with sarcasm. "It looks like everyone has gotten pretty friendly with her, hasn't it?" "Well, that's fine, I suppose. The more we get along, the better. But we still need to report these unusual incidents to His Majesty the Emperor, regardless. Whether it's the swarm of mid-level monsters appearing in the northern forest, or a sword saint suddenly showing up just in time, but I guess it's a good thing that a murderer has woken up, so I won't have to worry about it anymore." Derek retorted, "Lilia, you're going too far. You have no right to say that," she shot back scornfully. "Wasn't it you who not too long ago Was bragging about teaching Erin Lysus a lesson? And now you've completely changed your tune. Huh? Did you suddenly develop some camaraderie after escaping death together? And you, Sir Ferdino, you're no different. At all. I am your comrade, not Erin Lysus. The entire room fell into a long silence after that. She gritted her teeth, regretting her outburst. I didn't mean to say that. Lilia sat down, looking apologetic. I'm sorry, I lost my composure. What I meant is, the report isn't the only thing we need to worry about. Have you all not heard the announcement from the academy? The three men were silent, not a word in response. Duke Arsili is scheduled to come here as a special lecturer. Sir Ferdino, your former fiancé's father, Duke Arsili, is coming to the academy. Erin's room. Erin sat properly on her bed, thinking to herself, I'm so irritated right now, because the person sitting across from me is none other than Princess Asili. She gave Erin a fond smile, while Erin thought, why would this unexpected guest visit me? Why would the Duchess come to see me? There's no reason at all. As Erin was lost in thought, Princess Asili spoke up. I heard from Sir Amon that you volunteered to be the bait to save us. I wanted to give you my most sincere thanks. Erin quickly replied. You don't have to. In any case, she thought to herself, this person makes me strangely uncomfortable. And then Princess Asili stood up. No, my thanks must be given in person. She sat down beside Erin, asking if she was injured anywhere. Erin replied quietly, I used my holy power to heal the monster wounds, but I'm letting the remaining injuries heal naturally. Princess Asili clasped her hands together. Ah, and I was the one who changed your clothes, Lady Lysus. I didn't tell anyone about the scars, and I won't. I'm telling to you because I thought you might be worried about it. I don't know your circumstances, but it seems you don't want anyone to know. Erin's eyes widened as she looked at her. Duchess Asili, you don't hate me? The question from Erin made Princess Asili exclaim, why? What? How could that be? Erin replied, frankly, you ask why? Huh? Weren't you engaged to Sir Ferdino? But you two broke up because of me, so naturally you must hate. Hearing her deadpan response, Princess Asili became flustered. That's, well, it's true, but no, I don't hate you because of that, Lady Lysus. I'm sorry, Lady Lysus, I can't tell you anything related to that matter right now. There are several reasons. Erin wondered. Reasons? Princess Asili took her hand, but there is one. One thing I can say for sure is that I don't hate Lady Lysus at all. How could I hate the person who saved my life? So can I call you by your name? Faced with her sincere words, Erin thought otherwise. Savior? I don't deserve that title, because I've never been able to truly protect anyone. That's why I felt so restless when the Duchess entered my room. Princess Asili then gave a radiant smile to Lady Lysus. I'm so glad you're awake, while Erin looked up and stared at her and thought, because when facing her, someone I had never met in my previous life. A moment later, Erin's lips moved slightly, and then she said she could call me by my name. Princess Asili happily pulled her hand closer. I'm so happy. I'll come visit often, okay? From now on, please look after me, Knight Erin. She gave a small smile. Erin held Princess Asili's hand back and bowed her head, replying, yes. After spending more time than I had expected, I couldn't miss any more classes, so I decided to attend the afternoon session. But I ran into another unexpected situation. While Erin was training, Eamon came looking for her. Aren't you going to rest more? Knight Erin. Suddenly a group of people gathered, pointing and whispering. Hey, did you hear that? Lord Eamon called. Erin a knight. He even used formal speech. What's going on? Erin screamed internally. I think it's weird too. Did the sun rise? In the west? Amon spoke up. What are you doing? I'm checking to see if the sun rose from the west. He then asked, and so? Erin replied, no, it seems to be normal. That's not the point. Why are you here? You're supposed to be in the advanced class, so why are you in the basic class? Amon casually replied to her, I moved to the basic class. Erin looked shocked. What do you mean by that? In the swordsmanship department, to move up a level you have to complete a mission given by the Emperor according to the Academy's tradition. The missions were varied and incredibly dangerous, including monster subjugation, dueling veteran knights, and so much more. Amon had taken on one of the hardest missions and was promoted to the advanced class after going through hell. She looked at him and couldn't help but think, so why would he go through all that just to start over from scratch? Amon, as if he understood Erin's gaze, turned his head away and answered, I transferred because I wanted to, so don't look at me with those eyes. I realized that I'm still lacking. He remembered the previous mission, when Erin rushed forward and stabbed her sword into the monster. She looked at him with a determined gaze and yelled, run. Amon was carrying Asili on his back and couldn't help but feel powerless. Damn it, I'll go get reinforcements, just survive until then. Back in the present, Amon said, leaving someone behind is a truly horrible feeling. I was completely weak on his back and couldn't help but feel powerless. Damn it, I'll go get reinforcements, just survive until. Not only that, despite being so weak, I still had the audacity to tell you that you don't know what honor is. How arrogant. And I'll keep what I saw a secret. But one thing, when you're fully recovered, will you have a duel with me? Erin's eyes widened at the person in front of her. Knowing what that look in his eyes meant, she remembered a time when she had short hair, when Erin was training. The eyes of a knight who yearns to be stronger, wants to protect someone, and is prepared to die. For them, from one night to another, a bead of sweat slowly trickled down her face. Erin stared at the hand of Amon's that was clenched tightly and thought, when he looks at me with those eyes, I can't say no. She raised her sword against his. I don't mind dueling right now, Amon asked her. Are you sure? And Erin replied decisively, "Yes, but don't go easy on me just because I'm a patient. I won't be holding back on you either. That's not gonna happen." Elsewhere, Raymond was heading to the academy. Phew, I almost had to wait around. Alright then, may we see Lady Erin? Raymond entered the academy to find Erin, thinking, the dormitory. For Lady Erin is past the training grounds, isn't it? Suddenly, Raymond turned his head and saw someone else approaching. He thought, that man is Duke Asili, one of the Empire's 3 sword saints. Wherever he goes, piles of monster corpses are left in his wake. The commander of the Imperial First Elite Knight Order, the man who has reached the pinnacle of swordsmanship, an idol and role model for every knight, the aide following behind him, spoke up. Most of the monsters this time were high level. Ronan asked quietly, "Are you saying Academy students defeated them?" He said, "It must have been a sword saint who just happened to pass by and took care of it." Hiding behind a wall, Raymond thought. I heard he was assigned to investigate the monster extermination, but I never expected to run into him here. Suddenly, Ronan snapped, "Stop talking nonsense! As if a sword saint would just happen to be passing by and casually wipe out a horde of monsters? Do you even understand the meaning of the title Sword Saint? Don't be so reckless as to speak lightly of a master, when you haven't even reached that level yourself." The aide cowered before his immense mana. As for Raymond, he thought, that level, where mana doesn't just cover the sword, but the entire body. Just witnessing it is an incredible sight. The aide bowed his head and replied, "Yes, I understand." Ronan clicked his tongue and turned to leave. Suddenly, he noticed Raymond, who was fearfully clutching his chest. He thought, did the pressure of my aura startle him? He's not an academy student, but he looks rather familiar. The aide whispered into Ronan's ear, "That is Lord Raymond of House Lysus." He asked quietly, "From House Lysus?" Suddenly, Ronan recalled something. Ah, Marquis Lysus has always only been accompanied by Lord Reckon. That's why I don't recognize him, but it seems House Lysus holds this one in high regard. Raymond composed himself and bowed. "Forgive my belated greeting, Duke Asili. It's been a while." The Duke watched him in silence. "I heard you are a high-ranking knight like Lord Reckon, but your skills are all flash and no substance. You still have a long way to go." Ronan turned away and asked his aide, "Where is Erin Lysus?" He replied, "At the training grounds." He ignored Raymond and walked off. "Then let's head there." Raymond watched Ronan's retreating back and thought, he must be going to see Lady Erin for the investigation. Am I just invisible or something? On top of that, I heard Duke Asili is only interested in those who are truly gifted with the sword. Being sized up like that really doesn't feel good. As the evening sun began to set, everyone at the academy gathered to watch the duel between Erin and Amon. Philip shouted in awe, "What the hell is going on? So are Erin and Lord Ammon evenly matched?" No, that's not it if you look closely. Erin is completely calm, while Ammon is clearly struggling. Seeing Ammon's stance, Erin predicted a simple thrust, dodged to the side, and as she moved to the side, Ammon immediately redirected his sword to her neck, which completely surprised Erin. He thought triumphantly, "Got her." But Erin calmly countered the move, knocking Ammon's sword upward, making him lose his balance. "So fast." Erin then slightly lowered into a defensive stance. Then, she thrust at Ammon's face, but he dodged. Damn it. Erin stared intently at Ammon. Then, she raised her sword over his head, and then pointed the tip right in front of Ammon's face. "She just copied my move." "What? My family's heirloom swordsmanship, she recreated it after seeing it just once? How is that possible?" Dust kicked up all over the training ground. Philip and the other students stared with their jaws dropped in amazement at the scene. Erin's hair swayed gently in the wind, while the tip of her sword was pointed right at Ammon's neck. Philip looked at the scene in horror and thought, I can't believe it. Lord Ammon lost to Erin. What? I thought she just got lucky surviving the monster subjugation. How can this be? Ammon held out his hand for Erin to pull him up. How did you copy my family's swordsmanship? Her face fell as she said, "Could you treat me like a normal opponent, please?" Ronan had appeared at some point. "Oh, what an incredible talent." Philip quickly bowed. His head, "Your Grace, Duke Asili." Erin immediately turned around. She looked at Ronan and thought to herself, when did he get here? There was someone else behind him. Erin's eyes widened as she looked at that person. Raymond stood with his arms crossed, looking back at her. He said softly, "Erin, it's been a while." Raymond's voice made Erin freeze on the spot. Seeing him, she thought, Lord Raymond, the person I once trusted so deeply. In the past, at the Lysus household, where I didn't have a single ally, he was like an oasis in the desert, the one person who was on my side. Perhaps I trusted him until the very last moment. Back in the present, Raymond was approaching, raising his hand as if to pat her head. "Erin, I heard you were injured during the subjugation. It doesn't look too serious, what a relief." Suddenly, she slapped his hand away. Erin's action surprised Raymond, while Amon watched her intently. Erin made an excuse, "I'm probably still sweaty." Erin remembered the scene, in her past life, lying sprawled on the floor. That Raymond had once said, "The Madame asked me to pass on a message. Don't worry, you will soon be reunited with your family." Erin, she thought to herself, if only the one who murdered me hadn't been. Back in the present, he called out with a worried expression. "Miss Erin?" She smiled. Then Erin replied politely, "It's good to see you again, Lord Raymond." But inside, a tidal wave of emotion was rising in her. Now, I can finally repay my blood debt. On the field, Erin and Amon were sparring fiercely. Raymond had been observing for a while now. He was a little surprised, thinking, she's pretty good. Since when did Erin have skills like this? Was it since she joined the swordsmanship department? That's too short a time. Or is it an innate talent from the Lysius bloodline? Is that what Coralia was always wary of? Either way, she's too brilliant. Erin helped Amon up, and he asked, How could you copy my family's heirloom swordsmanship? She replied, Can you just treat me normally? Amon asked cautiously, Are you sure it would be more comfortable if I just acted like I did before? Erin smiled faintly. Yes, just like that. Raymond was completely stunned when he saw her smile. Did she just smile? Is this really the same Erin I know? When he went to check on her, Erin immediately brushed Raymond's hand away. She said quietly, I'm sweating, so I probably smell. It's been a while. It's good to see you again, Sir Raymond. I'm so glad. You haven't changed a bit. The teacher's voice called out, Everyone, pay attention. We will now resume class. Erin turned back and said, I have to go now. See you later. As soon as she said that, she and Amon left the field. Raymond's face darkened as he stared at the hand she had just swatted away, and suddenly Raymond frowned, thinking, Coralia has crushed Erin's mind and body, training her to do her bidding. If Coralia's role was to break Erin's wings. In his imagination, Erin stumbled and fell to the ground, looking up at Jimin with her tear-filled eyes as he knelt before her like her savior. Then I will grant myself the role of her savior. He remembered what had happened before Erin enrolled in the academy. Back then, she had been walking in the forest when a snake bit her, and coincidentally, German showed up just in time to bandage her wound. She was incredibly grateful at the time. She said, Thank you for saving me, Sir German. I didn't even notice the snake slithering so close if you hadn't been here. Back then, she had been walking in the forest when a snake bit her, and coincidentally, German showed up just in time to bandage her wound. She was incredibly grateful at the time to go after her. The snake crept closer, opening its mouth to reveal a pair of sharp fangs, while Germaine calmly watched from behind a tree. The snake sank its fangs into Erin's leg, making her scream in pain, while he casually waited for the right moment to make his move. Kneeling before Erin, Raymond put on an innocent face and said, You can be so careless sometimes, Erin. It's a good thing that wasn't a venomous snake. In the Marquis's mansion, a place with no escape, she had become completely disposable.